What's going on, everybody? My name's Cam and welcome to the first video in my new video series called Screen Print Training. This series is designed to train new employees at Monument Limited. However, I'm trying to keep it as general as possible so that you can also use it as training material at your shop, if you want to. In this screen print training video, I'm going to show you how to reclaim and degrease a screen like a pro. Here we go. Before you get started reclaiming, you're going to need the following items. 3 scrub pads. 2 is pretty much a requirement. The 3rd is optional. However, if you're working at Monument Limited, you're going to use all 3. You're also going to need a pressure washer. If you don't have a washer, you're going to need a high pressure water hose. At Monument, use the pressure washer. As far as chemicals, you're going to need a dip tank with solution. We use CCI's Dip and Strip, but there's tons of other brands out there. Ask your local supplier what they got, they'll get you set up. And you're also going to need a DEHAZER degreaser. We use the pink stuff from CCI, but again, ask your local supplier, any DEHAZER degreaser will do. Overview. The 3-pad system provides a thorough reclaiming process that prevents you from missing any steps that could cause you problems later on. First, always dip 3 screens at a time. After the screens have soaked, you're going to throw one into the washout booth. I'm going to use my emulsion scrub pad, scour the mesh on both sides. Then I'm going to wet my frame pad, apply just a dab of DEHAZER degreaser, and I'm going to scrub the frame. Once I finish that step, I use the pressure washer to actually reclaim the screen. Now I'm going to wet my mesh pad, apply another spot of DEHAZER degreaser, and this is the actual degreasing process. Let the screen sit for 1 to 10 minutes and rinse. Step number 1, grab your screens and remove any of the excess tape that's on them. You also want to take an extra second, grab a cleanup card, and remove as much of the excess ink on the mesh as you can. Now it's time to soak the screens in the dip tank. If you've just changed the solution out, 30 seconds maximum, you will find that after 30 seconds that emulsion is already starting to loosen up to the point that it's dripping into the thing. Once the 30 seconds has elapsed, yank all your screens and set them aside. Okay, I gotta cut in here real quick because I did not emphasize this enough. Do not let the screen soak in the tank to the point where the emulsion is dripping into the chemical. This will absolutely reduce the effectiveness of the solution, which then means we have to replace it, which then costs us more money, which then puts your job at risk. So don't let the screens soak for too long. And one more thing to note. After these have soaked in the dip tank and they're sitting over here waiting for you to reclaim them, do not let the screens dry. If the screen dries after soaking in the dip tank, it will lock the emulsion into the mesh, and the only way you'll be able to get it out is to have these things re-stretched and remeshed. That costs money, again, putting your job in jeopardy. Grab your first screen and throw it in the washout booth. Now, here's a little note. If it's hard, if it's taking a little more elbow grease, you probably need to up your time in 30-second increments. I'm going to test this right now and see where we're at. Okay, so it is coming off quickly. If it were hard to remove, I would probably add 30 seconds to my dip time and go from there. If by chance you've gotten to the point where it's taking longer than 2 minutes to soak the screens to get them to the point where the emulsion's washing out with a pressure washer, it's time to shock the tank. You're going to grab yourself about a half a gallon of whatever solution, put it in the tank. That should reduce the time. If that's not working, it's going to be time to actually change the water and the solution. And we'll cover that in another video. All right. Anyways, it's time to scrub and clean. Like I said, we're going to use 3 scrub brushes. The first one is our emulsion brush. This is designated exclusively to scrubbing the emulsion after it comes out of the tank. So I'll literally just grab it and quickly hit both sides of the mesh. This just loosens up the emulsion and the ink and makes it 100 times easier to wash out. All right, let's move on to cleaning the actual aluminum frame. We're gonna use our dedicated frame scrub brush. Gonna wet it down, put a little moisture on it, and we're gonna just apply a dab of our DEHAZER degreaser to it. Okay, I went a little overboard, but you get the idea. You don't need very much. Now, starting with the front face, I'm going to scrub the front. Then I'm gonna get this edge here. Then I'm gonna flip the screen, get this edge, flip it again, get this bottom edge. Last one. Now we've gotten all 4 edges. Then I'm gonna flip it this way, and I'm gonna get the front face. All 4 front faces. Okay, and then the final step is to get inside the frame. Make sure the plastic from these scrub brushes does not hit the mesh or it'll bust it. But go nice and easy on the insides, getting any of the shit that's locked in there. See what I'm doing here? Nice and clean. And I want to make a special note. The frame scrub brush does not touch the mesh. This is for the frame. The mesh scrub brush does not touch the frame. Okay. Now we're actually going to remove the emulsion from the mesh using our pressure washer. Working from the bottom to the top, you're going to use a smooth up and down motion, working from one side to the other. Don't spend too much time trying to get all the emulsion and all that junk out from the mesh just yet. We'll get to that in a minute. Just get the majority of the junk out of there. Okay, now it's time to degrease the mesh. The next series of steps are crucial for proper emulsion adhesion later on. I'm going to grab my dedicated mesh scrub pad. Notice how it's clean and pretty much in new condition. I'm going to wet it down, and I'm going to add a touch of my pink stuff degreaser. Make sure your mesh is wet, and I'm going to scrub the front face first. Kind of an up and down, and then a circling motion. And I'm going to flip it and do the other side. Pay attention to the corners. Make sure you're getting every area here. Up and down, and then a circling motion. Okay. Once you've applied the DEHAZER degreaser, you're going to grab the screen out of the thing and set it aside for 1 to 10 minutes. 1 if it's not very severe, 10 if it has some severe staining and you need to really let that stuff get out of there. In this case, I'm going to set it aside for 1 minute while I reclaim the rest of these screens. If you have a tough to get out spot, try flipping the frame over and spraying it from the other side. A lot of the times that'll get it. Whoops. See right there, I forgot to take the tape off of one, and it's causing me all kinds of problems. See? I'm beating on it, nothing's working. When that happens, you got a couple of options. You can apply some DEHAZER degreaser, and that might unlock it, or you could chuck it back in the dip tank for a second. I'm gonna opt to throw it in the dip tank for 30 seconds just to see if that fixes it. All right, let's see if that helps. I'm just gonna wet the mesh real quick. Grab my mesh scrub pad, apply some water, a little bit of this pink stuff here, and we go to town. Starting with the front, a little up and down action, trying to get every square inch. And we flip it, and start again, up and down, and circling motion, starting from the bottom. Now I set this one aside. And I grab the screen that's been sitting there soaking with the DEHAZER degreaser, and we're gonna rinse them. So I start by rinsing my hand. My hand has all kinds of grease and junk on it. If you're wearing gloves, rinse the glove. Get that rinsed off. Also, pay special attention to the glue on the frame when you're rinsing off the DEHAZER degreaser. If it's allowed to sit too long, or if you don't rinse it thoroughly, it will actually degrade the glue, and you'll start seeing the mesh separate from the screen, which is, then it's useless. And And then overlapping side to side, top to bottom. As I'm doing this, I'm looking for any hard spots that I need to apply pressure to. I got a few right here. There we go. And if there was a concentration of crap in there, I'll kind of go back up and work my way down again. Flip the frame over, and I'm gonna get the inside. Because we liquid tape the frames, I actually tilt the screen back like this, working from the top, and I just spray down. If you do it straight, when you have liquid tape frames, you get a lot of splash back in your face. So tilt it like this. All right, now that I'm done rinsing it, it's time to set it aside and let it dry. I do want to make one more quick note. You'll notice that this mesh has been thoroughly degreased, but it's got some ghost images in it from previous jobs. They don't matter as far as I'm concerned, but you know, every 5 times, whatever you designate necessary, you can apply the pink stuff to it and let it set closer to 10 minutes, and the majority of that haze will be removed when you go to rinse it off. Set the screens aside to dry in a cool, dust-free environment. Dust and humidity are your worst enemies here. A couple of tips for drying. Number 1, reclaim your screens in the morning, set them aside to dry in a dust-free environment throughout the day, and then coat those screens at the end of the day. And one more thing. Fans are awesome. They're a great way to dry these things quickly, especially if you need a screen in a pinch. But beware, if the fans have dust on the back, fans blow dust all over the goddamn place, including onto the mesh that you're pointing them at, which is going to cause you pinholes later on after you coat it. So use them with caution. All right, that's all there is to reclaiming and degreasing a screen like a pro. If you have anything you want to contribute to the community, go ahead and leave it in a comment. Just don't be a dick about it, or you're going to get blocked. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to actually coat a screen like a pro. See you next time.